I understand that rationale. I do say that it's disappointing, particularly because Council put in place safeguards in order to ensure that you could attend so that there would be no conflict. And so the question to Councillor Giddens is, you and I had a conversation back in June about two individuals on the committee. Council was very clear in its resolution and quite generous, I have to say, in requesting that we clear the air with the Maritime Museum, that Council appoint two new representatives in yourself, Lord Mayor, and in Councillor Giddens, and that in return we requested that new representatives be appointed to represent the Maritime Museum. The minutes show that that hasn't happened. However, I have an email from you indicating that you had formally written asking that new representatives be appointed, and my understanding was that that had been agreed to, so perhaps you could provide us an update on that.
Certainly, Councillor. As was indicated in the papers, to the Newcastle Maritime Museum Heritage Association, I believe, has been disbanded. In line with the resolution from April, two new members of the Newcastle Maritime Museum Society have been appointed. One is the former Lord Mayor of Port Stephens, I believe, Mr. Bustard, and also Mr. Philip Kelly, representing the union piece of it, but also in importance there is the fact that he has taken on that second leadership role. So to clarify the question, two new people have been appointed. We get to the point of the other two persons on that working party. The perception is that they are members of it, they are not. Mr. Cordingley has provided his expertise in the formulation of a strategic plan that was undertaken, I think, in June and through to July. And the other person in question, Mr. Bob Cook, is attending the working party, but only in an advisory capacity, given the fact that in this framework, institutional memory is crucial. Without the involvement of Mr. Cook in an advisory capacity, and Mr. Cordingley through his ability to facilitate a more than necessary strategic plan, which Councillor Adamczyk I will share and happy to do so, the institutional memory that is so required of this committee is lost. Totally lost. We cannot rely on those who are new to the working group, those who have had some sort of association with it, to have that. So in answer to your question, Councillor, two new members have been appointed. Councillors, I beg your pardon, Mr. Cordingley and Mr. Cook are not members of the working party. One has helped with the facilitation of a strategic plan, and secondly, the other acts in an advisory capacity to facilitate the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other speakers to the amendment?
I haven't yet spoken to the amendment.
Well, you're seconding the amendment.
I haven't yet spoken. Just with respect to the response from Councillor Giddens, we're not here to redebate the resolution from April. The boundaries, the conditions of Council's continued financial support of the Newcastle Maritime Museum were very clear. Funding was conditional on them adhering to the requirements set down from Council. What you've just articulated, a motion you voted for...
Sorry, Councillor, what are you speaking to at this point?
Lord Mayor, I'm speaking to the item before us, the amendment that I've moved and the response to the questions I've just received from Councillor Giddens.
No. Councillor Adamczyk moved the amendment. I think you're seconding the amendment.
Lord Mayor, it's unclear why you are interrupting my...
Because your amendment is with adding a Part C, working party and draft strategic report.
Lord Mayor, the practice of this Council, indeed you allowed it for the previous speakers, is to debate the motion and amendments concurrently. You have ruled that way across your time in the seat of Lord Mayor. I was entirely relevant to the motion before us and the amendment, which goes to the membership of the working party. I'm unclear what point it is that you're seeking to make, other than to interrupt my train of thought.
So You're speaking as seconding the amendment.
Lord
Yeah.
Mayor, if you'd like to drag this out, with respect, I could speak once to the amendment, I could then speak again to the motion. I'm trying to be efficient with our time.
Okay.
I'm disappointed that you continue to interrupt me.
Thank you. Can you continue talking then?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I am frustrated that we are at this point, Councillor Giddens, because that is not consistent. What you outlined is not consistent with the conditions of the funding that were imposed with the support of this council chamber to continue to support the Maritime Museum. If institutional knowledge was what the committee was after, there are multiple ways that could have been ascertained, including by having representatives from the council administration, other councillors that had had experience with the Maritime Museum in the past. Instead, we decided to bury the hatchet, put aside those past grievances, put forward 2 new faces to negotiate in good faith on behalf of the council, and that hasn't been reciprocated in the engagements to date with the Maritime Museum. Instead, we are roughly 6 months through a 12-month window where the Museum Society urgently needs to find a new home for their collection. We've extended substantial financial support to the Maritime Museum, even once it's discounted by Venues New South Wales. I'm grateful for their support in doing so. The cost of the continuation of that storage is roughly double the funds that the Society has sitting in their bank account in present. I am very concerned, as Councillor Pringle and Councillor Adamczyk are, about the fact that we, within 6 months, don't have a clear plan and a path forward for the future of the Maritime Museum, and that instead of respecting the will of this council, we've got a society that has thumbed its nose at council and decided to pick and choose which conditions of our funding it decides are fit to adhere to. Let's be clear, the paper before us this evening is not in keeping with the resolution of this council, a very generous resolution that came with funding. There are serious governance and probity issues that do need to be considered here. I'm happy to note the attachments to the receipt, but I do think it is entirely appropriate that we receive a briefing from the chair of that committee, that there is the change in the membership and attendance of that committee, and I'll just raise with you that had it not been for your response, there is no way that I would have known that those 2 individuals weren't members of the committee. The minutes reflect them as full attendees alongside every other member. There is nothing to differentiate their contribution. Indeed, they continue to be assigned jobs by the Working Party and to continue to represent the Working Party in other forums. If they were genuine, if they had the good faith of the Maritime Museum at their heart, they would recognise the generosity of the offer put forward by council, and they would stand aside and allow others to continue to move forward with this museum. Instead, we've seen old grievances continue to play out and no indication of good faith in order to deliver the outcome that Novocastrians expect and deserve. So I'm happy to support the resolution, but would support Councillor Adamczyk's amendment and also support the amendment already moved and put by Councillor Pringle. Those are important issues of governance that need to be addressed as part of this discussion. Lord Mayor, finally in conclusion, I would ask, given you have been appointed by council, you have not resigned from that role as you were appointed by council, it is appropriate that you fulfil the obligations that you made to this chamber and that you participate fully in those discussions. I do wish you and Councillor Giddens the very best of luck. This is a challenging set of circumstances, no one is denying that, but made worse by actors that continue not to act in good faith. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Yep. What's your point of order?
To be quoted as not acting in good faith, Councillor Clausen, is an insult.
I might rephrase, because I did not indicate that you hadn't acted in good faith. In fact, I agreed with my colleagues and made very generous comments about you and the work that you've taken on, Councillor Giddens. Some members, the people that have refused to resign when requested and conditioned by council, are not acting in good faith.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I'll accept that.